Alright, hello everyone, and I had to take a little brief pause there because my mic was off, but guys, this is a very difficult time for me being Jewish, and I'm just gonna make my mic a little bit louder as I go along here so you can at least hear me a little bit better, but if you're not aware and if you're not in the loop, which is understandable, tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. And normally this would be a joyous time where I would be happy about it and, you know, celebrating the Festival of Lights. This is not a great time for my other country. As many of you know, as somebody that is Jewish, particularly me, since I have been mitzvahed, and if something ever happens in the United States, and I have my documents to prove it, I can legally become a citizen of Israel. It's certainly possible. And technically, I do feel that Israel is my second home, in theory. And what's been going on, and today is a somber day because it's now been 2 whole months, guys. 2 whole months since Hamas decided to invade Israel on Sukkot. And doing it on a Jewish holiday was just disgusting what they did. And I'm going to explain what happened in a brief Instagram post that I had from 2 months ago. And we're going to quickly read it because I don't want to go into gory details, because then what will happen is YouTube will think that I'm violating community guidelines and etc. etc. So let me pull up the Instagram post and briefly talk about what happened on Sukkot. Okay, so this is what happened. On the morning of October 7, 2023, the morning of Sukkot, Hamas launched thousands of rockets into Israel. At the same time, Hamas militants broke through the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip. Street fighting was underway in towns bordering on Gaza, and Israeli officials confirmed the terrorists had taken hostages. So, it was just disgusting to think that this could be done on Simchat Torah, one of the holiest holidays in the Jewish calendar, where it was the great journey to the Great Temple of Jerusalem. Alright? So I don't have to go into more glory details, but I will say this. A couple of weeks ago, there was a ceasefire agreed upon. There were hostages freed. A couple weeks ago. We still have hostages at this time. I'm not going to give a number because then, I'll give the wrong count. But you get the idea of how somber Hanukkah is today. Israel today is still at war. Alright? Israel's been at war now for 2 months. And I certainly hope that there will be a resolution soon, that Hamas will be eradicated. The terrorists will be taken care of. But until such time can be done, there has to be some sacrifices made. And you may be wondering, and it may be related to it, the Senate is not going to be voting on a package to give funding to Ukraine in their war. And that money is likely going to go to Israel, most likely. Now, I don't want to go into more further glory details, but in this video, what I wanted to talk about was we're only going to talk about 2 anti-Semitic incidents, alright? I don't want to go into further details about, daily protesting every day in New York City, or that. Actually, no, 3 examples. Well, there are a couple of anti-Semitic incidents at schools, but I'm not going to go into the colleges. So we're going to go into 3 examples. In this video, we're going to talk about 3 anti-Semitic incidents going on. We are going to talk about a city in Virginia canceling its menorah lighting tonight. We are going to talk about a restaurant owner in Philadelphia targeted. And in this video, we are going to talk about something that happened locally here in my neck of the woods in Queens. So without further ado, let's get to our first anti-Semitic incident. 3 incidents, and how being Jewish this year is more scarier than dealing with the Nazis and dealing with the Egyptians. Our first anti-Semitic incident. Virginia Festival cancels menorah lighting due to Israel-Hamas war. At a time of well-documented rising anti-Semitism, the singling out and targeting of Jews is dangerous and harmful, serving to further exclude and alienate our community. So let's read this. In Williamsburg, Virginia, which I have visited many times over the years, and there's a saying in Virginia that I know very well, and it's Virginia is for lovers. What's going on here in Williamsburg goes against the standards, the traditions, and the values of what Virginia as a state stands for. And I am very annoyed at Governor Glenn Youngkin for not condemning this. Alright, so let's read this. A second Hanukkah celebration set to take place during the upcoming Second Sunday's Arts and Musical Festival in Williamsburg, Virginia on Sunday, December 10th has been canceled, sparking controversy and accusations of discrimination. According to a local newspaper, the Virginia Gazette, the event was meant to be featured by a menorah lighting led by a local community rabbi, was abruptly called off by Love Light Placemaking, the festival's organizer. Their reason for the cancellation was unexpected, as they cited concerns about the conflict with Palestine and Israel. Love Light Placemaking claimed the hosting a Hanukkah event would imply support for the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. According to the Virginia Gazette, I don't know why this just randomly refreshed. Shirley Vermonen, the festival's founder, said second Sundays are inclusive to different religions or cultures, and the menorah lighting seemed very inappropriate given current events going on in Israel and Gaza. She added that all religious services that were expected to take place have also been canceled. However, the United Jewish Community of the Virginia Peninsula, which was responsible for organizing the Hanukkah event, vehemently denied any political affiliation. In a statement, they clarified that the menorah lighting had no connection to Israel or the conflict. It was intended purely as a cultural and religious celebration. United Jewish Community of the Virginia Peninsula said in a statement, "We are deeply disappointed by Love Light's placemaking decision to cancel the menorah lighting. The Hanukkah celebration was a symbol of our cultural heritage and has no political agenda." According to the newspaper, the situation took a more troubling turn when Love Light Placemaking offered to reinstate this event. It was conducted under a banner calling for a ceasefire in the Israeli-Hamas conflict. The offer was met with outrage from the local Jewish community. So, I can't blame them, Why are they making this political? Why? Why is this organizer, Love Light Placemaking, making this all political now? With Hanukkah being tonight, you would think that everything should not be political, right? Everything should be focused on the religious aspect of Hanukkah tonight. But no, that's not what's going on here. Critics argued that holding Jews collectively responsible for Israel's policies and action is a form of anti-Semitism. They also contended, that imposing a political limitus for tests for Jews, participation in community events unrelated to Israel, is unjust and discriminatory. Second Sunday's Art Musical Festival has traditionally been a unifying event emphasizing messages for unity, love, and light. The exclusion of the Jewish community from this festival, which prides itself on inclusivity, has raised questions about the festival's commitment to these values. So, it's just disgusting. I mean, this is clearly anti-Semitism. All right? The fact that on Sukkot, the terrorists just came into Israel, went into Tel Aviv, and just thought it was okay to do what they did. It's just disgusting. It's just really disgusting. All right? I mean, if you go on the Jerusalem Post, homepage today, it's just, you see a lot of depressing stuff about what's going on with the war. All right? Nothing about Hanukkah tonight. Nothing about... Normally, on Hanukkah, there would be happy stories about everybody gathering around in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem tonight. No, I don't see any of that on here. Because this year is a lot different than other years in the past. Okay? So, the next two examples of anti-Semitism, we're now going to talk about what happened in Philadelphia. So outside of a popular falafel shop in Center City, Philadelphia, we had an awful anti-Semitic protest on the support of Palestine. And we're going to read this New York Times article that was posted on Monday. So basically, we know that the state of Pennsylvania and the federal government have condemned this incident. So let's read this. White House and state officials said that a protest back on Sunday, December 3rd, was hateful and anti-Semitic after dozens of pro-Palestinian demonstrators opposed to Israel's offensive in the Gaza Strip, chanting slogans charging genocide outside an Israeli-style falafel shop in Philadelphia. The White House issued a statement back on Monday, December 4th, that called the protest targeting the establishment unjustifiable, adding to reaction from Pennsylvania officials. A video clip posted on X that we're not going to be showing in this video showed the pro-Palestinian protesters outside Goldie, a vegan falafel shop owned by Michael Solomoff, an Israeli-born chef, and Steve Cook, a former investment banker turned restaurateur, through their Philadelphia hospitality group, Cook and Solo Restaurants. And trust me, I'm not even going to read what this says. I'm not even going to read this part, all right? Because it's disgusting. All right, the restaurant is called Goldie, all right? But I'm not even going to read the other quote because it is so anti-Semitic, I just refuse to read it. I just refuse to. The White House joined Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro in condemning the focus of the protesters on the restaurant. A White House spokesperson said on Monday, December 4th, it is anti-Semitic and completely unjustifiable to target restaurants that serve Israeli food over disagreements with Israeli policy. This was according to Andrew Bates, also quoted saying, "This behavior reveals the kind of cruel and senseless double standard that is a calling card of anti-Semitism." He added that U.S. President Joe Biden will always stand up firmly against these kinds of undignified actions. Social media postings from accounts going by the Philly Palestine Coalition and the Philadelphia Free Palestine Coalition called on people to flood Philly for Gaza back on December 3rd, but did not name the restaurant. Their invitation also called for a lift to siege on Gaza and to end military aid to Israel. Well, I'll tell you this about Philadelphia. And I know this about... I've been to Philadelphia, so trust me, I can speak up for the Jewish community. And I've even passed by the synagogue in Willow Grove. So trust me. There are a lot of Jewish restaurants in Center City, Philadelphia. Alright? And the fact that now these restaurant owners now have to cower in fear. And I even know of a delicious chocolate babka place not too far from Cheesesteak Row. I'll just call it Cheesesteak Row because everybody will debate about Geno's, everybody debates about Pat's. But right near Cheesesteak Row, you have a delicious chocolate. Everybody agrees with this point of view. There's a delicious bakery, not too far from Pat's, not too far from Gino's, that has delicious chocolate babka cake. And it's just unbelievable to think that these owners have to cower in fear. All right? And the fact that we're talking about this is a vegan place I wanted to visit in Philadelphia. I'll be honest. I have wanted to visit Goldie's. All right? And especially because, Yuki Endo was telling me about it before he went to Japan. About the vegan community in general. Having growth in having kosher vegan. Right? There's kosher vegan. This is one of those places. They have to, it's so scary. And, Mr. Salamov also has a bunch of other restaurants in Philadelphia. And I would hope that this will be a glorious time for Mr. Salamov and his family. And I'm hoping that his businesses in Philadelphia will, will be successful. But you got these people in Philadelphia who just promote anti-Semitism. And I don't like to see people, dying. Just gonna say it. On both sides. I don't like seeing it. But what's going on here, we have become so divided. We have become so torn apart from each other that this is what happens here. And I am not somebody who says, oh, go protest outside of a Palestinian restaurant. Like, no. Alright? I'm not like that. I'm never like that, And there are female rabbis who say, well, we need a ceasefire. I don't know how much longer can we get a ceasefire. Because we need to come together and we need at least all the hostages taken back first. And if Netanyahu, and I'll just say this about the Prime Minister, he wants to do something, then get all the hostages out first, get the other Americans and the Israelis out, alright? Everybody needs to be freed. And if Netanyahu wants to continue the goal of eradicating Hamas, then let it happen. But I don't know if we will ever get to a two-state solution now. It's difficult. We've had countless presidents over the years that say, well, are we going to get to that point? I'm not even going to answer that right now. So let's get to our last example of anti-Semitism. Because I said I was only going to go into 3. And, you can look up all these other schools that are being anti-Semitic. And I feel bad for these college kids, alright? I really do. But we need to talk about what happened at Hillcrest High School. And you may be wondering, why am I going with the New York Times for their coverage of what's going on? Because I've been noticing, since the war begun, from what I've been reading, I've been noticing a lot of their writers, a lot of their op-eds have been pro-Israel. And I have had political disagreements with their op-ed board in the past about Donald Trump and Republicans in general, but I gotta give the New York Times credit. They have redeemed themselves in the past 2 months. And I will give them a lot of credit. So, let's talk about what happened at Hillcrest High School. And I want to mention one thing. Yes, somebody did call me out. I'm not going to name an individual here for going through Jamaica. And that was because I had to make up time because the traffic in Manhattan was bad. And not to mention, My express bus didn't show up on 57th Street on Tuesday. But I will mention this. When I passed by Hillcrest High School on Tuesday when I took the Q34 bus back up to Union Turnpike, I'll say this. 2 police officers got on board my bus. Alright, and I felt safe. Knowing that if something happened, the cops could have intervened. And maybe because it was perfect timing, because the Q34 does go right by the 107 precinct, so maybe that was another reason, but, you know, we have to talk about what happened here. Alright? So, this incident occurred right before Thanksgiving, on November 20th. Alright? So, a pro-Israel teacher was attacked for free speech. Alright, 400 students roamed the school, and, you know, you have the school chancellor, Dave Spanks, that said, well, she was expressing her Jewish identity, right? TikTok clips went viral. The New York Post published a story reporting the teacher was hidden in a locked office, and, you know, she was scared because the kids were turning against her. It's just disgusting. There was a protest inside the school. You know, how is this acceptable? Alright. So let's see. Do we have another article? You know what? Let's read the New York Post one, because there is a New York Post article. We'll read this. Alright. We'll read this one if it even loads. Okay, so this can load. So, this occurred back on Monday, November 20th, correct. So I have the date right. So this happened at 11 a.m., in which students called a pre-planned protest over the teacher's Facebook profile, showing her at a pro-Israel rally back on Monday, October 9th. Alright? Saying, I stand with Israel. Alright, and everybody knows my point of view. Why do you think I was singing Hot Kiva a couple of weeks ago? Alright? But look at this. I mean, you had disparaging acts of kids chanting, jumping, shouting, and waving flags or banners representing Palestine. Right? So, I'm not even going to play the video. I'm not even going to read what one of the students was saying. And it's disgusting. School administrators in the NYPD, which responded to the school at 11:20 a.m., got wind of their plans just in time to rush the teacher into her office and lock the door, another educator said. So, I'm not even going to read what that other quote said. So, according to my councilman, Jim Gennaro, who represents the 24th District here in Queens, according to a statement he said to the New York Post, the NYPD not only sent a couple dozen cops to restore order, but tapped its counterterrorism bureau to investigate a possible threat against the school. Gennaro quoted was saying, whether it was one student or multiple students who did or said something, whenever the trigger was something happened, and I know from my many years on the council, the counterterrorism task force is not engaged unless it is believed it's a potentially serious situation. And then look at this. They just randomly vandalized, a bunch of stuff. Alright? So I don't need to go into any more further details, because I have to have my city councilman pretty much explain it. Alright? And yes, alright, I'm proud that I stood with John Rinaldi when I did. But that's not the point here. Okay? The point here is the reason why I did this video was to explain why I'm scared. These 3 incidents, you could be attacked for being Jewish. You could be attacked for singing Hatkiva. You could be attacked for standing with Israel. We have a right to say how we feel. And I wish the people on the Palestine side would just be peaceful. Right? But they have a mindset that they support Hamas. And I will openly admit that I've had to unfollow accounts on social media. Just because I've been disgusted with how they feel about it. And I'm not going to condone it. And I'm going to, I'm not going to stand with them, right? So I'm trying to say here, because I'm just disgusted. This is a time to be grateful and to be appreciative that we can support Israel right now in their time of need. And with Festival of Lights, what I'm grateful for is the fact that wherever there are menorah lightings happening tonight, whether it's in New York, and yes, there is one planned tonight in Orlando, all right, there is one planned. I'm going to openly say that now. And in fact, a lot of these down south states, from what I've been researching, there's even, I think, somewhere in Alabama tonight, they're going to have a menorah lighting. I've heard from people of Christian and Catholic faith in the past 2 months support Israel. I've heard from ministers. And I've heard from pastors who have stood with Israel in the past 2 months. And I want to thank them for that. And I'm very grateful for the Catholics and the Christians who have openly stood with Israel in the past 2 months. I've heard their voices, and right now their voices are being suppressed too. Not just mine, but, and not just everybody else in the Jewish community, but, And I'll say this about Fresh Meadows. I have been also receiving a lot of support. Not just me, but my other Jewish neighbors around here in Fresh Meadows, Queens. We've been getting a lot of support from our Asian neighbors who have been standing with Israel and have condoned the anti-Semitism. And we've been very grateful for that. I don't know how things are going to end up in the next couple of months. But for now, I'll just end with this point. I want Hamas done. I want to see the hostages freed. And maybe we can discuss, well, will there be a recognized state of Palestine? Will there not be a recognized state? I just cannot give that answer right now. I really don't know, because I might be turning on Zionism at this point. Because I just don't want to see any more people dying. Just like how I don't want to see people dying on both the Russian and the Ukraine side. What's been going on with that war now for almost 2 years? So, don't be afraid to speak up. Alright? Don't be intimidated. You cannot have your voice suppressed. If you're Jewish, if you're Christian, if you're Catholic, and you're fully behind Israel, don't let your voice be suppressed. This is the time to come forward. That's why I did this video today. That's why I'm titling this video, Why I'm Scared to Be Jewish This Year for Hanukkah. That's why I'm titling it that. We cannot be suppressed. And for us celebrating Hanukkah tonight, let's be grateful that we can do it. We have the privilege to do it. Let's be grateful that we can do it. So I think a half hour is enough for this video. So I'm going to conclude it. And if you are observing Hanukkah tonight, I want to wish you, your friends, your family, and if you are observing tonight, please have a safe and a very happy Hanukkah tonight. And I'm going to wrap up this video right now. So thank you for watching. And I hope that I have shed some light on how I feel as a Jew that's trying to observe one of my favorite times of the year. So that's it.